Hello, welcome. My name is Debbie Farstenson from Debbie Farstenson Tutoring, and I'm really pleased that you're joining me today. If you're accessing this workshop, then I'm sure that you have a little one that is starting in reception very soon, and that you want to kind of upskill yourself on phonics, what it is, and how to support at home. So in this presentation, I'll guide you through how phonics works in reception, and I'll share simple practical ways that you can support your child's reading journey from home. So a little bit about me. I'm a qualified teacher and private tutor specializing in English, phonics, and early reading. I've spent many years in the classroom helping children build their confidence in literacy skills. And I really love it when those light bulb moments happen and they all start to click together. I also have another important hat. I'm a mum to two crazy children, very energetic. And so I understand the real life juggle of supporting learning at home while, trying to manage everything else. In my tuition business, I work closely with families to support reading, to make it feel achievable, to tailor it to their needs, and to fill in those gaps where they might have them. Before we dive in, let's just have a look at what we'll cover today. We'll start with the basics. So, what is phonics and how it is taught in schools? We'll then explore what your child will be learning in reception and how you can support them with like simple, practical strategies. I'll also share tips on overcoming some common challenges, and I'll point you towards a few resources to make learning fun. So let's get started, and I'll hope that my video doesn't stop recording this time. So what is phonics and why does it matter? So phonics is the method of teaching children to read by connecting the sounds to letters. So it's all about helping them understand that letters represent sounds and that when those sounds are blended together, they form words. For example, the word cat is made up of three sounds, a, t. And when you put those together, when the children hear them and they say those sounds, they can begin to read words and spell them independently. Phonics matters because it gives children the tools to decode unfamiliar words. Instead of guessing or memorizing, they learn to read by sounding out. So this can build confidence and fluency, and it sets a strong foundation for lifelong literacy. And it's been especially powerful for children with learning difficulties like dyslexia, because it breaks down reading into manageable, logical steps. In reception, phonics is taught daily using a structured approach. It's called systematic synthetic phonics, or SSP for short, and I'll explain more about that next. So SSP is the method used in schools to teach children how to read. It's systematic, meaning that sounds are introduced in clear, logical order, and it's synthetic, meaning that children learn to blend individual sounds together to read whole words. SSP is taught daily, as I said, in reception and Key Stage 1, using short, focused lessons that build up over time. And that's the intention of that, is that it reduces the child's cognitive load. We're not introducing too many sounds, but what we are doing is teaching a few sounds, and then we are repeating and covering them again and recapping them and reinforcing them through the decodable books, which they'll be at home, so that they become embedded in their minds very quickly. It's backed by research, and it's shown to be especially effective for children with additional learning needs. Schools use different SSP programs, but they all follow the same core principles. Some of the most popular ones, and ones that your child might be using at school, is Little Wonder, Read Write Inc., Monster Phonics, Twinkle Phonics, Essential Letters and Sounds, and the Jolly Phonics program. And each one has their own style. Some use actions and some use songs, but essentially they all aim to help children become fluent, confident readers. In reception, they'll start by learning initial sounds. That's the s, a, t, p, I, and so on. And they will learn how to sound them out and blend them. They'll also encounter tricky words, which are essentially harder to read and say words, things that don't follow the phonetical rules. And they start then, by the end of the year, reading simple sentences, and it goes really quick. So using pure sounds, what does that mean? So pure sounds is necessary. Pure sounds is essential. A pure sound means that you sound it out clearly. So like the letter M is not M, it's M. And the letter R is not R, it's R, and so on and so on. It's really helpful if you say the pure sounds because it helps your child to blend the sounds together smoothly to read the words. Schools often teach them alongside a mnemonic or a little rhyme or an action. For example, the letter S would be swerve around the snake, and they might do a slithering motion with it. It will help them with their memorizing it. As a child, you might have different actions and things, but ask the teacher in the classroom what your child is using and mirror them at home. Uh, the blending part is where your child then learns to put those sounds together. They sound it out and then they push it together. So, for example, if you can see me on this, let me see. The word cat, they might use robot arms as well. So they might do this cat, ah, cat. Let me see if I can find you. Let's do it one more time. Let's use the word tap. Tap. T. Ah. P. Tap. And so on and so on. To help with this, you can say, maybe say the sound slowly with your child and let them guess the word and make it a little bit more fun. In this slide, I've added a link to an Oxford Owl demonstration of those pure sounds because they were taught differently or they weren't taught as pure sounds when a lot of you were younger and learning to read yourself. So this will just help you to know them. On this video also, it moves on to digraphs and trigraphs like ch, unk, and that also helps when your child encounters them at home that you are then able to reinforce them correctly at home. It's a really good reference, so I've added that link there. Let's explore how to support at home now. You can support by, doing some practical, easy to fit in games because obviously we're very, time precious at home. And so as long as it's fun, the child will want to do it. You don't want to make it feel like it's pulling teeth. We're not asking you to become teachers. We're not asking you to become experts. But what we're asking you to do really is become our cheerleaders and make the sounds and sounding out a bit fun to start with. And that will hopefully set them on their way. So around 3 to 4, we're playing with sounds. We're building awareness through play. It's about tuning into the sounds and having a bit of fun with it. So you could go on a sound safari when they're little. You could go and look for things that begin with the beginning sounds like t for tree and b for bird. You could do silly sound songs, like instead of twinkle twinkle, you can change the initial sound to the b sound for binkle binkle. Might have a few giggles with that one. A particular favourite of my children when they're younger was to fill the bath tub at bath time with foam letters. And then if you say the starting sound, the initial sound, then they can hunt for that letter. That can then move on, obviously, to building up words on the side of the bath and so on and so on. It's also great because you're not having to find time. You're already doing your bath time routine. It just fits into that. So it's a bit fun. You can also do it in the car on the way to school, play these games, because obviously then you're filling in that dead time of traveling with something a bit useful and a bit fun in the car. Around 5 to 6 years old, children are now blending and segmenting. So it's essential that you practice that at home. They're ready to decode words. And so using like Scrabble letters or building blocks to build the letters physically and then push them together really helps to embed that learning in their mind and their brain. You can also, if you've got some building blocks, it's fun to knock them down. At around 7, they are early readers and writers, so they're starting to gain fluency, and it's time to challenge them with some creativity. You could challenge them to make a phonics comic strip with the target sounds. They can draw and narrate. You could do a sound swap challenge where you start with one word like sat, and then you change the sound, one of the letters, to another one to create like a chain and a link, and you can see how many times you can change the letter. It's quite a challenging one, good for long car rides. They can also create their own phonics podcast to teach other children, children in other classes or their siblings, using the silly target words. And you can just have fun at home, really. I mean, these activities work across all age groups, and they're great for working with siblings or with family during family time and car journeys. And I just want to remind you that it's not really about getting every sound right. It's about practicing and building confidence and celebrating their effort and just making phonics everyday part of your fun. Because obviously, when it's fun, children thrive. So let's talk about something that's really simple, but it's powerful and you can do at home to support your child's reading. Yes, phonics is important. Phonics is extremely important in this age group. It teaches your child how to read by helping them to decode words, sounds, and letters. But honestly, one of the most valuable things you can do as a parent is to read a decodable book that comes home each night. So from the first week of term, they will be given a decodable reader. What a decodable reader means is that every sound within that book is a sound that they've learned this week. There's nothing outside of that that will confuse them, or a sound that they haven't yet encountered in class. So the idea in reception is that it's designed to match the phonics they're learning in the classroom. And now I know it might feel a bit boring to read the same book over again, but the school will encourage you to read that book every night for 10 to 15 minutes. Um, so it's repetition. That's the magic. It helps build the confidence. And when you practice reading it aloud, they kind of feel proud when they finally mastered it. Now, the practicing of reading at the beginning can feel like pulling out teeth. The child will push against you. They will buck against reading because their process of reading that book feels overwhelming to them the first time they meet it. And so you just have to dig deep and keep your patience. And just you'll find that after the fourth reading of it, maybe on the Thursday night before they go in on the Friday, they will feel like they know that book, they recognize the words, they feel successful, they're really reading. And that's why it's really important that just even those few minutes every day will help to reinforce what they're learning. So when they meet those sounds and letters again in class the next day, they feel, happy, and they're not scared about it, they're not overwhelmed. And it really does work. As a teacher in the classroom, it was very noticeable, those children that were read to every single night, not just because it was written in their recorded in their book, but because the way that they approached the book when we listened to them at school. Obviously, we read and listen to the children as much as possible in the classroom, but when you have 30, they don't get as much time as one-to-one time at home with a parent. Now, while you're doing that, don't forget the joy of reading for pleasure. So it's really important that whilst they are tackling that mountainous climb to learn how to read, that you also make sure that reading is fun and that they link pleasure with it. And that means a bedtime story, even just 10 minutes before bed. It can do wonders. It's not just about the words on the page, it's about cuddling up and winding down and connecting. And it teaches your child that reading isn't just something that we have to do at school, it's a job. It's something that helps us to enjoy and to learn about new things. So yes, phonics teaches them how to read, and that's what we're doing in reception, year 1. But bedtime stories, they really teach them why we want to read. Now let's take a quick moment to talk about the challenges that parents face when helping their child to read and help them at home with phonics. First, the terminology. So when you go into your meeting with the reception teachers or the parents, and they start using words like digraphs and blending and segmenting, it just isn't part of your everyday language, and that's okay. You don't need to be a phonics expert. What matters is helping your child most, and that it feels fun in a natural way. So don't worry too much about the terminology. We also tell the children that phoneme and grapheme is just a posh word for letters and sounds. They're just posh words. We have to sound important as teachers. We like that. But actually, you already know what they are. And those slides there with the pure sounds on will really help you to get a grip on it before they bring those books home. Secondly, time and energy are really limited these days, between work and meal times and bedtime routines. It's really hard to find that extra time for learning. And that's why we encourage short, playful moments like sounding out words during bath time or on the way to school, just so that it doesn't feel like it's another job for you to tick off. One of the most difficult things and one of the most challenging things when learning phonics and teaching your child to read is that they may resist it. I know that very well. They might say it's boring, or it's too hard, or they'll avoid, or they'll fluff, or they'll, all of those things. So what's really important is creativity, turning it into fun. But also, I would say the most important thing is the next one is keeping it consistent. If they buck against it and it's been a trial for you and they're crying and screaming, snotting everywhere, you have to go push through that and you have to keep going, because if they do 10 minutes every day, 10 minutes every day, and you stick with it, you will reap the benefits later, and so will they in their learning. It will help them in class. You just have to dig deep. I also think that coming in from work, or when they're tired and you're tired, and trying to sit down and read then can often be insane. They're completely overwhelmed, their brain's all fuzzy, you've got socks in your head too. It's probably not the best time to then go, right, let's read. I found the best time is probably in the mornings before school, just before breakfast or something, if you have that time in your day, because they're fresh, they've slept, and they're about to go in and meet those phonics at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's better to do it then. And then when they come home, they get to do that after school collapse and just veg out. And you just get, your stress levels to come down a little bit. So, fifth, it's really, really easy to compare your child to others, their progress, their pace, and what they're doing, how their reading's going. But remember that children learn to walk and sit up at different times in their life, and development goes in fits and starts. And so it's the same with reading. It's not a race, but it is about being consistent. It is about having fun with it, and celebrating the effort, not perfection. Try not to make it too stressful for either of you. And finally, parents, don't really worry about whether you're doing it wrong. You might think, am I teaching this the right way? But the truth is that your support matters more than getting it perfect, and your encouragement in your child and your consistency will build their confidence more than you'll know. So today is about really giving you the tools and ideas and reassurance that you're not alone. There's lots of parents over the country that are learning these things and having to dig deep, like I said, and you're probably going to be doing better than you think. So here are a few resources that are fantastic for reinforcing phonics at home. Many are free or low cost and designed to engage your child and young learners. Now, I know that most of those are screen-based, and a lot of people are averse to screen-based learning, especially trying to discourage children. So, of course, think about the games and things that I've told you about. Think about reading with a physical book, getting outside and doing it outside, doing it with chalk pens or chalk on the pavement, or, the Scrabble letters and things. But also those times when you're trying to cook dinner or you're in a rush, these apps are very, very good. My son particularly likes the Twinkle games for sounding and blending new words, and he sits in the kitchen while I'm cooking dinner, and I hear him sounding and blending, and it makes you proud, but also it gives your brain a bit of a rest. So sometimes it's okay to hand over to those screens. It makes them feel like they're getting a bit of play in game time, when actually they're learning. So that concludes the end of this workshop. I just want to outline that every child learns at their own pace, that your support makes a huge difference, more than you'll realise in class. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like some personalised help or you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me by email, or you can contact me on my Facebook page. And actually on my Facebook page too, there's a link to my website, so you can also contact me through that. And I'd look forward to hearing you, and good luck. Good luck. It is an amazing journey, and your children will love it.